This is a story about money and power and politics. About a British billionaire who's lived almost 6,000 miles away, but whose cash has had more influence on today's politics than arguably any other. His name is Christopher Harborne, and he's one of the biggest donors in British political history. His millions have put the Reform Party on the map, and his £5 million gift has propped up its leader, Nigel Farage.
I cannot even tell you how grateful I am to Christopher Harborne.
But Channel 4 News has seen evidence that the billionaire financier has played Britain's electoral system. On the one hand, declaring Thailand his home, but on the other, also declaring residency at times in Hampshire. And why? Well, to continue voting, particularly in the Brexit referendum, but also to continue to donate to Nigel Farage, to the Brexit Party, and also to Reform. All via a British electoral system that's riddled with loopholes that he's taken full advantage of.
British public can look at something and see that it is entirely legal, but that it just doesn't smell right.
You've been in the pub? Nobody's seen him?
I haven't seen him around at all, no.
The picturesque countryside of Hampshire. Mr. Harborne lived in a substantial property in the tiny village of Highclere in the 1990s. But at some time around the end of that decade, he relocated to Thailand, where the businessman made a fortune selling aviation fuel before moving into the opaque world of cryptocurrency. And British politics. He's since pumped over £33 million into the system, nearly £2 million to the Conservatives, £10 million to the Brexit Party, that controversial £5 million to Nigel Farage, and a whopping £15 million to Reform. You might think the influential mega-donor would appear publicly, but he rarely does. This is Nigel Farage in 2019, fresh from being attacked with a milkshake, following behind that day the man with the chequebook, Christopher Harborne. And here he is relaxing on the island of Koh Samui in Thailand, where he also owns a health spa. Yet despite becoming a Thai citizen in 2011 and assuming a Thai name, Mr. Harborne's continued to exert huge influence over the right wing of British politics from afar.
What do we want? Brexit! When do we want?
So how is that possible? Well, donating from Thailand was legal because Mr. Harborne registered as an overseas elector when he left the UK, which under the law at the time meant he could vote and make political donations in the UK for the next 15 years. But those rights then expired, we believe, around 2013, and Mr. Harborne gave no registered donations for several years. But Channel 4 News understands that the billionaire financier came back onto the UK electoral roll in 2016 in Hampshire, specifically to vote in the Brexit referendum. Now, according to the rules, he could only do that by declaring, indeed, that he was a resident in Hampshire. But we've discovered that by October of that year, in other words, just a couple of months after the Brexit vote, that he declared in a company filing that he was, in fact, a resident in Thailand. This is the document that Mr. Harborne filed with Companies House relating to his airline fuel company AML Global and dated October 2016. At the end of the filing, he's prompted to state the country where he's usually resident, and he answers Thailand. In other words, Mr. Harborne seemingly only came back to the UK in the summer of 2016 for a very short time to register as a UK resident, to vote for Brexit, and crucially, to set the clock ticking again, giving him another 15 years as an overseas voter to continue to donate to political parties here in Britain from his home in Thailand. And that's precisely what he did.
The problem in this case is that we see someone working in a system that is incredibly permissive, in a system which has gaping loopholes, so they are not breaking the law. But the British public, I think in this case, as in a lot of the cases that we're seeing at the moment with Reform's finances, are just looking at it and saying, this doesn't smell right, this isn't quite right.
Will he set out what concrete steps he is taking to crack down on foreign interference in British politics?
It's because of the flow of foreign money into UK politics that Labour's decided to crack down, proposing a cap of £100,000 on donations from overseas.
I can tell the House we will act decisively to protect our democracy.
But in a rare interview, Mr Harborne told The Telegraph the restrictions only made him want to donate more, adding, where there's a will, there's a way. Of course, one way to circumvent the new restrictions on overseas donors is to move back to the UK, which is what Mr Harborne has seemingly chosen to do, to move back to Hampshire, where Channel 4 News has seen the council records that show the billionaire last month switched his electoral registration from overseas to a UK residency in this tiny village. So is he playing the system again, or does Christopher Harborne actually live here? Well, we came to try and find out. So this is the centre of the village where Christopher Harborne is registered as an elector, and the house that he's registered at is just up the road there, but really there's nothing else going on here. There are no shops. There is literally the one little pub that you can see there behind me. So we went there to try and talk to locals to see if they knew him, and many made the point that this place is so tiny that everybody knows everyone else and everyone knows everyone's business, and yet those that we spoke to said that they had never seen Christopher Harborne, and some of them said that they hadn't even heard of him. Is it possible, do you think, to be here and not be recognised? Can you hide in a tiny village like this?
No. You can't.
What do you mean?
Well, everybody knows everybody here. You've been in the pub. Nobody's seen him. You can have a property, own property. You can put your electorate on it, but it doesn't mean to say you need to live there.
Do you know Christopher Harborne?
I have heard of him, yeah.
You have heard of him. Have you heard of him because he is registered here, he lives here up the road?
I've heard basically from the news and stuff, but I did not even realise that he was in the area.
Yeah. So would you know him if you saw him, though?
I've seen pictures and stuff online, so I'd probably recognise him, yeah.
You're right. And have you seen him in the pub? We're down here at the local pub. You're a local. Have you seen him?
I haven't seen him around at all, no.
And do people chat about him having just moved back and being here?
This is the first time I'm hearing of it, to be honest. It's quite a random area, so no.
Yeah. Is it possible to be here and not be known, not be heard of, not be seen?
Yeah, of course, yeah, but at the same time, it's such a kind of a small community. Someone would have heard something, you'd think.
Several other residents who didn't want to be filmed also told us they too had not seen Mr Harborne or even heard that he was living there. One lady said she knew Amanda Harborne, his wife, but said she hadn't known Amanda was married. The tricky thing is there is no formal test of residency for electoral purposes. It's beholden on local officials at the council to check that you do live where you say you live. But it is illegal to declare that you are a resident somewhere if you actually are not. So we asked the local council what checks did they make to verify that Christopher Harborne does live in this tiny village. It's so small, it can't be that hard to check, can it? The council told us they couldn't comment on individual cases, but said for any person registering, the applicant makes a declaration that they are resident at the property. And when making the application, they are warned it is an offence to knowingly provide false information and could face a fine or prison. This matters because the Electoral Commission, which governs elections in the UK, relies on local councils to make these checks and certify people as legitimate voters and therefore permissible donors. Yet it seems in Mr Harborne's case, a mega donor to Reform and Farage, no additional checks have been made. The former chief executive of the Electoral Commission said UK residency should mean someone has genuinely returned to the UK. But if you are on the UK register as a UK elector, do you have to live here?
You have to be sufficiently resident in the UK to get on the register.
What does sufficiently resident mean?
Well,
it sounds like it's very open to being potentially manipulated.
Some might argue, you might be arguing, it should be clearer what residence means in the context of electoral law. It turns on the facts, in each individual case, whether the reasonable person would believe objectively, yes, that person is resident, that's absolutely right, or not.
The Electoral Commission is understood to be in contact with Basingstoke and Deane Borough Council about Mr Harborne's status. It told us concerns about the accuracy of the electoral register are taken seriously by the Commission and the local authority, who remain in regular contact. Mr Harborne declined to comment on our findings, but his lawyers insisted he's complied with all applicable laws regarding his resident status. But the question remains, how is it possible that a man who's lived abroad for more than 2 decades can lawfully declare himself a resident in the UK and use it to exercise such influence on British politics when it suits him?